I thought it was just about time for us to eventually bring another de Bottons and discuss it here on the channel. It's been almost a year since we did the Architecture of Happiness video, and it happens to be the one that's doing so good so far. So I'm like, let's give it a shot again. So today we're going to discuss a slightly architecture-related book by Alain de Botton, which is A Week at the Airport, a Heathrow diary. Again, I'm not going to make a summary of it here. I don't see it as that kind of book anyway, so I'm just going to discuss some points that were brought up in the book and talk about how I relate to them. The book was out in 2009, but I think it's still very accurate to this day, even after 13 years of its release. I remember referencing it in my master's thesis. It's in French and it's titled Vers une nouvelle expérience aéroportuaire, which can be translated in English to towards a new airport experience, or something like that. Anyway, it was about how we can enrich the traveler's experience in an airport building and leave a good first and or last impression in the traveler's mind through the architecture and design choices of a terminal. And so it was two parts. The first one was the dissertation, of course, and the second part was the architectural project. And so I worked on a new airport hub for the city of Casablanca. So yeah, I was saying that I referenced it in the part about how the airport is usually a highly emotionally charged space, which is a big part of de Botton's focus in this book, I think. So de Botton was asked by this company that owns airports around the world and apparently runs Heathrow as well, which is London's biggest airport. He was asked to become Heathrow's first writer in residence and spend a week at Terminal 5, which was newly designed at the time by the Italian-born British architect Richard Rogers, who only passed away about a couple of months ago. In that time, he would conduct an impressionistic survey of the premises and draw together a material for a book, which is the one we're discussing today. And in it, Alain talks about how airports represent this nest of the common different themes that run our civilization, from our faith in technology to our destruction of nature, as he writes, from our global interconnectedness to our romanticizing of travel. He basically journaled the week he spent at the terminal, visiting its different spaces, meeting with travelers and speaking with the airport personnel. So he shared in this book his observations of things that people often overlook in this building. I think it's quite an interesting book. The recounted experiences felt relatable at many levels. I would say I'm also fascinated by airports still and aircrafts. I mean, who isn't? Unless you've spent too much time in them for work or something, to the point that it gets boring and you can no longer bear being in one. And luckily, I guess it hasn't been the case for me, so I'm still a fan. And, you know, I was always intrigued by their complexity and engineering and, you know, knowing the cool names of airplanes and so on. And I also had a similar experience to that of de Botton. While he was asked, in my case, I had to ask for not just a week, but months-long internship in the office that runs airports here in Morocco. And yeah, it was great. It was a great experience and a wonderful opportunity that I'm still very grateful for, alhamdulillah, because it allowed me to bring to fruition this seed, which is the airport project idea that was planted in my mind since, I would say, my third year in architecture school. So de Botton starts the book by sharing this aspiration, secret aspiration, that he often had when he was in airports, which is that he often hoped for a flight delay, so that he could spend more time in the airport building. And he even privately wished for a delay so severe to the point that he would be offered a meal voucher, or more dramatically, as he writes, a night at an airline's expense in a hotel. I mean, isn't that the best thing that could happen? I mean, if it's really, really not urgent for you to be somewhere else, I think it could turn out to be one of the best things that could happen to someone. And I'm speaking from experience here. I remember we were on a school trip, and at one point we were heading to Tallinn in Estonia, and then to Helsinki, and we were in Germany, in Viitse airport, which is about 1 hour drive from Düsseldorf. And the flight got cancelled for some radar problem, as we were told. And everybody was freaking out. And I remember I was laughing the whole time. I don't know why. Yeah, probably because some passengers already boarded the plane, and then they were asked to disembark, which I guess was funny. I was like, that's the downside of paying for premium tickets. I know, it's a bit mean. So yeah, the cool thing is that exactly as the Baton has wished for, the airline brought us cabs and drove us to this hotel, which happens to be a cool lodge with this concept of rooms named after animals, which was like weird and unusual. And so I was assigned with a colleague of mine, the wild boar one. And in my mind I was like, ain't there more halal option? But actually it turned out we got the best room in the whole place. Like even the lady, who was very nice, by the way, like in the way she handed me the keys, signaled that it was something special. So it was 2 stories, and the girl took the upper level, and I had the whole level with the double bed and everything for myself. And so because we arrived late at night, it wasn't until the morning that we found out that we were in a zoo/park with animals and everything. Not just that, but we had breakfast in this beautiful cross-vault room of this 14th century Baroque style castle that was just next to it. And it had ruins and everything. It felt like being in another time. So yeah, I highly recommend that place if you're around Viitse someday, maybe. You never know. I'll look up the name of the hotel and share it in the description box. I keep really good memories of that place, and I would love to go back in the future, God willing. Yeah. So yeah, if one day your flight got cancelled, I hope that you embrace the event and that you'll hopefully get beautifully surprised. Yeah, let's get back to the book now. De Botton references at one point in his description of the architecture of the terminal this element we've talked about in the Architecture of Happiness video, if you can remember, and that you can check, by the way, here, which is elegance. And so he writes, the roof of the building weighed 18,000 tons, but the steel columns supporting it hardly suggested the pressures they were under. They were endowed with a subcategory of beauty we might refer to as elegance, present whenever architecture has the modesty not to draw attention to the difficulties it has surmounted. On top of their tapered necks, the columns balanced the 400-meter roof as if they were holding up a canopy made of linen, offering a metaphor for how we too might like to stand in relation to our burdens. I did catch myself smiling as I read many times. I like the Baton's sense of humor, I would say, most of the time. But, you know, some of his writings are complete nonsense, let's be honest. But, you know, in the times he gets it right, and, you know, revealing the reason behind something, and, you know, when his reasoning makes sense and it resonates with you, I'm just like, ah, man, finally someone said it. And it's wonderful. I personally had a couple of those moments with this book. So, yeah. It's not without de Botton's silly atheistic comments, though, but you can disregard those and benefit from his insights on the psychology that often prevails and is in play in a building like a terminal with its different spaces and users. So yeah, I guess this would be it. We've reached the end of this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not. And that's it. Take care, and bye-bye.